Why did you get back with your ex? When I was in community college, I was dating this girl, Angelina. We were young and completely in love, but it didn't last. Back then, everything felt effortless. We would spend hours together, grabbing late-night food, laughing at dumb jokes, and dreaming about the future. But reality caught up with us when I got accepted to my dream school across the country. We promised to try long distance, but we slowly drifted apart between my classes, her job, and the time difference. Eventually, we broke up. Life moved on. I threw myself into my studies, graduated, and started a small tech business. It was tough, but I loved it. After years of work, I finally saw some success, and I had built something I was proud of. Then, out of nowhere, I got a message from Angelina. At first, I thought she was just checking in. Maybe she was nostalgic or curious about how life had turned out for me. But when we met for coffee, I knew something was off. She looked anxious, her hands gripping her cup too tightly. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. She tried to make small talk, asking about my business and my life. But after a few minutes, she took a deep breath, stared at the table, and finally said, "I need to tell you something." I waited, my stomach twisting, not sure what to expect. She pulled out her phone, hesitated, then turned the screen toward me. It was a picture of a little girl, maybe 5 years old. My first thought was that she was adorable. My second was that something about her looked familiar. Then it hit me. "She's yours," Angelina said, her voice barely above a whisper. I couldn't speak. My brain couldn't catch up with what I was hearing. I stared at the picture, then back at her, trying to make sense of it. "I found out I was pregnant right after you left," she said. "I didn't know what to do. You were finally going to your dream school, and I didn't want to be the reason you gave it up. I thought I could handle it on my own, and I did, but I couldn't keep this from you anymore." I still didn't know what to say. 5 years, 5 whole years, and I had no idea I had a daughter. She wiped her eyes and took another shaky breath. "I don't expect anything from you. I just needed you to know." I sat there, staring at the little girl's face, my mind spinning. She lived across the country. My entire life was somewhere else, but so was my daughter. There was no choice to make. A few months later, I packed everything up and moved near her. I left my business behind, found a regular job, and started figuring out how to be a father. At first, it was awkward. My daughter barely knew me, and I had no idea how to connect with her, but I kept showing up. I took her to the park, learned her favorite stories, and sat with her when she was scared at night. Slowly, she started opening up to me. Living with Angelina again was strange at first. We had changed, but there was still something familiar about being around her. We would stay up late talking, teasing each other like we used to, and laughing at how ridiculous life had turned out. It wasn't romantic, but it was comfortable. One night, after we put our daughter to bed, I told her I had saved up enough to get my own apartment. I expected her to be happy for me, but instead, she just looked at me for a long moment and said, "You know, it wouldn't be so bad if you stayed here with us." That was when I realized I had fallen in love with her all over again. I told her I would stay, that we would do this together. A year later, I proposed, and our daughter stood between us at the altar, grinning as we said our vows. I gave up my business, the life I thought I wanted, but I had never been happier.